Good afternoon and welcome. As he mentioned, I am David L. Massey. I am an HIV/AIDS advocate right here in Atlanta, Georgia. However, I do hail from the state of Illinois in the windy city we like to call Chicago. And I'm so happy I'm not there right now. So to all of my American friends, again, good afternoon and welcome. To all of my Spanish-speaking friends, good afternoon and welcome. To all of my French-speaking friends, good afternoon and welcome. To all of my Chinese-speaking friends, good afternoon and welcome. To all of my Portuguese-speaking friends, good afternoon and welcome. To all of my Swedish-speaking friends, good afternoon and welcome. And to my Nigerian friends, good afternoon and welcome. I tried to make sure I got everybody in the room. And I would not even try to say that exact thing in your native tongue. So I hope that you understood my sentiment. Good. Thank you so much. I want to talk about today, we're talking about living the life of HIV. And to do that, I'd like to talk about what I like to call the 3 C's. 1 being communication, 2 being change, and 3, connection. In speaking about communication, communication is simply how we share information, especially in this field that is so vital to the way it's perceived by the general public, and for me, those closest to me. I became an advocate in the field of HIV/AIDS prevention over 10 years ago. However, my introduction to the disease was long before that as a teenager, when I sang at the funeral of an extended family member who died a mysterious death. At family gatherings, I saw how his skin changed complexion, his hair grew thin, and he became very tired very quickly doing mundane tasks. So when he passed away, no one talked about what he died from. No one spoke of how long he'd been sick, and no one hardly even mentions him anymore at family events. During normal conversation, it was then that I learned the damaging effects this disease could have on even the way we coexisted in a family dynamic. I knew even at that age, if there were ever going to be someone who wanted to ensure that that young man's life meant something or would ever even be worth mentioning again, it had to be me. Through that experience, I learned how to shut down and stop communicating those things I never wanted anybody to know. I learned how to quickly deflect the conversation when approached with an uncomfortable topic and became quite good at it. However, I also learned over time that if I were ever going to get anywhere in life, I had to communicate and do so effectively, to be clearly understood. So speaking publicly came easily to me. I've been a musical director for most of my life and was able to teach vocal workshops all around the world. But now, a new topic had piqued my interest. There was something now that was not only worth singing about, but something now that were many who were growing up and going to end up just like that young man in my extended family. And if I didn't open up and communicate what was going on, that thing that had been going on around me for years. Now, I had become really good at effective communication, but it was the next thing that really dug me in deeper. And that thing is change. Change is the essence of life, being willing to surrender what you are for what you could become. Now, although I had already mastered effective communication, I had no clue as to how to go about changing the mindset of people that I shared space, time, childhood memories, or even the same DNA. But something had to be done. In 2009, I became fortunate enough to gain employment at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in the Division of HIV/AIDS Prevention. And before I go any further, I would like to say that the views and opinions expressed by me are solely that of me, myself, David L. Massey, and not any other government agency. I have to put that disclaimer in. So, during my tenure, I was opened up to a whole new world of education and cutting-edge breakthroughs in the fight against HIV. I'd learned about PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, as well as PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis, and its effects against the transmission of this virus that had affected so many of my friends, changing their lives as well as the landscape of HIV prevention. Now, although change is inevitable, in order for it to be effective, we have to recognize the benefits of it. Changing the way we speak about the virus and relay the information to newly infected persons in clinical and non-clinical settings will ultimately provide new ways to educate those in close proximity to those infected. Even through modern technology, we found new ways to potentially stop the transmission of a virus. However, the fight against the stigma attached is still ongoing. There are persons across multiple communities, more prevalently in men who have sex with men, who now use PrEP as their only form of contraception, and not as an addition to safer sex practices, thereby choosing to engage in natural sex with partners who are most times unaware of their status. We have to find more ways of changing the behaviors of those who are at highest risk of contracting this virus. And in order to do so, we have to start at grassroots level. It has to start in our churches. It has to start in our health departments, in our schools, and yes, even in our homes. I believe the reason for the new incidents being so high is because of the lack of counseling and education for those diagnosed with HIV and how to deal with the challenges they face day to day, whether it's access to adequate health care, which should include mental wellness, and oftentimes does not, or if it's changing the socioeconomic effects of those who have not been linked to care because they are simply trying to survive every day. At some point, we have to change our messaging to include learning how to take care of the whole person and not just the virus. In order to effect change and in order to have effective communication, there has to be that thing. It has to be that link that I call connection. It's about finding a way to connect with people who are just trying to live the best life they can. Not everyone is fortunate enough to have the educational tools that we have, nor can they understand them at the same level. It's our connection to each other across all walks of life that will renew our passion as we look forward towards the best quality of life possible for all people. A few years ago, there was a connection made between two guys, myself being one, who found each other through a joint business venture. Now, through long hours of conversation, we decided to go to dinner to meet to discuss the potential project. I was sitting there at dinner, and during dinner, I recognized very quickly that this other guy that sat across from me was meant to be more than just an acquaintance. The connection between us was so strong, I didn't want dinner to end. Now, towards the end of the evening, the news was shared. I'm HIV positive. Now, whenever I share that story with people, people always ask, well, what'd you do with that information? Did you out him? Did you find a way to bow out gracefully? Did you tell him that you worked in public health and it'd be okay to possibly date him? To share something so hard and so personal had to be the hardest thing that he ever had to share with anybody, and he chose to share it with you. The most interesting part about that story is that people never assume that the person sharing the information was me, instead of the person receiving the information being him. And to answer those questions, no, he did not bow out gracefully. And although I shared much more with him than my resume of accomplishments in music as well as public health, he found ways to get further educated by speaking with his own primary care physician and continues to find ways to stay connected to me years later. Together, we share our story of hope, healing, and education to promote awareness and prevention of HIV. In life, business, and in love, we find ways of assisting others on how to begin the conversation surrounding HIV. He continues to support me and pushes me to be the best me I can be. And in that support, yes, he's even sitting in the audience today. In conclusion, it is our commitment, both of ours, to effective communication that we are able to help others learn ways of reducing the stigma attached to HIV. We continuously seek ways that we can change the mindsets of individuals infected and affected on how they can live their best lives beyond the diagnosis. We're also liaisons who are known for providing ways of connecting those youth living with HIV in underserved populations by finding adequate health care through our website, www.davidandjohnny.org, which is 1 year old today. Through our social media outlets on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and yes, Periscope, we're using the handle @DavidandJohnny, as well as our videos that we produce promoting healthy relationships on YouTube under the handle David Johnny. When speaking to people in the community, I never wanted to be seen or viewed as the face of HIV. It was never a goal. My goal is I want to be most noted for living the life of one who was diagnosed and continues to stay in treatment, as well as through advocacy and sharing my story, I can be a part of the history changers, continuing to fight to eradicate this virus once and for all. Thank you so much to the conference committee and to all of you for your attention, and please enjoy the rest of your life.